Welcome in to another video with A Spiral. Today we're going to be doing another mock draft. I wanted to get one out before the NFL Combine starts up this upcoming Thursday and goes through the weekend. I will also be doing one after the NFL Combine with some more opinions based on what we saw and based on who had a good combine and who didn't, who rose and who fell. So today, starting with the Las Vegas Raiders, it is going to be Fernando Mendoza. Everyone's mocking it. It doesn't really surprise anyone at this point that they would go Fernando Mendoza. No one's going to really try to trade up for him in the sense that they would have to give up an arm and a leg to try and get him. And there's potential that he is not nearly as high up on people's ratings and boards as he's going to be drafted, if that makes sense. Quarterbacks and edge players usually get like a half round boost up people's boards because of positional value and cost. So for Fernando Mendoza to go one, it only makes sense. Here at two, it is going to be Rueben Bain. Now, Rueben Bain, people are saying that he has short arms, which he probably does. We'll see at the combine. But I think he is just such a versatile and crazy good athlete that it doesn't make sense for people to pass on him after we saw what he did this past season for the Miami Hurricanes. Rueben Bain is just that next level crazy athlete in the sense that he can play inside or out probably at the next level, probably not a like a 2 or 3 tech, but in a 3-4 defense that can have some versatility at edge. It seems like Rueben Bain could do that. Here at number 3, the Arizona Cardinals are going to be going with an offensive lineman in Francis Mauigoa. 2 Miami guys off the board. Francis Mauigoa played offensive tackle for a very good offense that went to the national championship and almost won. Mauigoa has the size and the athletic profile to show to be a very good tackle in the NFL. I believe he has pretty long arms just based on early reports, which is always good, especially with people criticizing how prior tackles who have had short arms don't work out. Specifically, people saying that with Will Campbell, and I don't think that's the case. I think Will Campbell's going to be fine eventually, especially after healing and recovering from his injury. Francis Mauigoa, the Cardinals need offensive linemen. Who knows what they're going to do at quarterback? It seems like Kyler Murray is probably going to be out the door traded. I wouldn't be surprised if a team in this first round trades this pick for a Kyler if that's what it demands, but he'll probably go for like a second or third round pick to another team. Here at number 4, Tennessee can basically go all defense and wide receiver. Oh, look, Arvell Reese is there. Yes, so the Titans going Arvell Reese. Robert Saleh loves freak athletes that are able to play multiple positions, that can fly around the field, and Arvell Reese is one of those guys who just has that next level athletic ability and his potential to be versatile off of the edge if not be able to step back and play off-ball linebacker just makes him too good of a prospect to not go with. Seeing how the Giants defensive room has looked, I wouldn't be surprised if they take a wide receiver, but with how many wide receivers and how potentially deep this wide receiver class is, I wouldn't be surprised if they just wait until a later round or trade back up into the first round if a guy falls. In this situation, I think they are going to go defensive back, specifically Mansour Delane. The reason I don't go Jermod McCoy here is strictly based off of injury history. They've had bad lucks with injuries of guys who are important to their positions, guys like Scadaboo, Jackson Dart, and Malik Neighbors, and I think that they're going to just stay away from a guy who's had a major injury and go with the more surefire prospect in the sense that he played this last year and they know he's not injured in Mansour Delane. I believe Cleveland is going to stick on the offensive line or wide receiver area with tackles being such highly paid and highly important offensive linemen, and Cleveland is basically losing their entire starting offensive line, I think Spencer Fano will be going here early than people may expect. But tackles and O linemen always tend to sneak into the first round when people don't expect it. I think 6 might be a little early for a guy like Fano. I expect him probably to be more like a 10 or 11 overall. But with Cleveland sitting here and all these wide receivers not being taken, it kind of makes sense that the Browns would continue to stay off of the wide receiver market until a guy goes and then maybe trade up with their later pick. At the number 7 pick, Washington is loving how this board falls. Being able to take a guy like Caleb Downs, who is probably going to end up being one of the best players in this draft class at number 7. People say safeties aren't positionally important. They're not highly paid, so why would you spend a top round draft pick? It seems like safety is one of the higher positional values that gets underrated when it comes to contract season and them re-signing for big money. With the wide receivers on the board, I believe Carnell Tate is very similar to their other Ohio State wide receiver in Chris Olave. There's a guy here in Jordan Tyson, 6'2", 295, very big, go up and get the ball, elite route running, can have explosive, releases, gets off the ball, and is a very big hands catcher. As you can see, has a 67% contested catch rate and shows reliable hands. I think they take a swing and get another guy for their quarterback in Tyler Shough. Kansas City is looking pretty good with who's left on the board. Could they go running back? Potentially. I just saw an article come out today that Travis Etienne is potentially looking to sign in Kansas City in the offseason if he doesn't get franchise tagged or this, that, or the other. If Kansas City were to go out and do that, there'd be no reason to sign Jeremiah Love or draft Jeremiah Love, which leaves then wide receiver edge. I believe those are the two that they could look to. Getting a guy in their offense alongside of Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy, I think Carnell Tate is such a good all-around route runner and wide receiver that he'll be able to take on that number 1 role and put Rashee Rice to a number 2 or a 1A and have Xavier Worthy be the big downfield threat like he was supposed to be coming into this year. I think that would help Mahomes, especially having a great wide receiver that can get open and has good hands and is just an all-around wide receiver, especially coming back from an ACL tear. Cincinnati's defense is horrible. I think that they, in all honesty, would be looking to trade down in this position, especially with what is on the board. There's still Jermod McCoy. There's still a bunch of great defensive players, and they just need help all across the board. I do think that I am going to have them trade down with Dallas. So this trade is accepted. Dallas will be moving up to pick number 10. And with how the board is going, I believe they could take a guy like a David Bailey. If they really have high hopes for Bailey, and placing him with Ezraku and Quinnen Williams will make that defense very good very quickly. They also could want to trade up for Jermod McCoy, which is actually what I'm going to do here. They saw Mansour Delane go off the board, but thought it might be too rich to trade up that far. Well, they get Jermod McCoy, a great cornerback. After cutting Trayvon Diggs and letting him go, I think a cornerback like Jermod McCoy would be elite for Dallas in this situation trading up. Miami just cut Tyreek Hill, Bradley Chubb, and a bunch of other players that aren't of as high of significance as guys like the first two I mentioned. But sitting here, being able to take either David Bailey, Makai Lemon, Avion Terrell, they really have a good layout here. But I think since they just cut Bradley Chubb and being as high as the 11th overall pick, being able to get a guy like David Bailey is going to be great benefit to a Miami team that is looking to basically reset. David Bailey seems like the kind of edge rusher that Heffley, their new head coach, would like having off the edge. So I believe that will be their pick at number 11. Cincinnati here at number 12. They need defense, like I said. They traded down. I got some extra picks exchanged with Dallas, but I think that they will stay away from the defensive line. Granted that they just drafted Shamar Stewart this past season. There is corner on the board that I actually think is going to be underdrafted going into this offseason and draft season is Avion Terrell. I think he brings a kind of dog mentality. He likes to hit. He makes it known when he's hitting you. He may miss some tackles, but man, when he connects, he is good a good downhill hitter. They also need defense, and being able to draft a corner like Avion Terrell this high is where I think it will end up going. Here at 13, the Rams are looking to draft corner. That was their biggest need going into this year. I don't think that they will reach on one of these other guys when they have a second pick down the board in the first round. With the guys that are still on the board, I believe a wide receiver like Makai Lemon is right up the LA Rams alley in the kind of wide receiver he is. He's an extremely good route runner that can play out of the slot, but plays bigger than he is. And they are drafting for their future. They have Davante Adams. He's 33 and on the last year of his deal. Puka Nacua is great and going to get a big contract. But after that, it's kind of downhill. If either one of those two get hurt, they're relying solely on the other and backups that can perform in a good Sean McVay offense. But to keep this offense humming and wanting to go to a Super Bowl again, or eventually with Matt Stafford, so probably in the next 2 years, you have to try to get better now, and Makai Lemon can do that for you. Baltimore here at pick 14. Jeremiah Love has fallen as running backs do. I could not see Baltimore drafting a running back. I actually think they're going to be looking at interior offensive line. A guy like Vega Ioane out of Penn State is a Ravens O lineman. He is a dog. He is a mauler. He is going to move and loves running that power offense inside zone scheme that works well with Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. The new head coach for the Ravens in Minter will be looking to have them do that and really utilize what they have in the backfield of Lamar and Derrick Henry. Tampa Bay is going Sonny Styles. Sonny Styles could go anywhere from 4 to 28 in the sense that linebackers are not highly valued, but a guy like Sonny Styles is a perfect fit for that Buccaneers defense. He doesn't miss tackles. He is basically a Levante David 2.0 in the sense that he is elite at doing everything. He used to play safety, and you think maybe he's not a very good tackler or downhill hitter, but as I just said, he hits, he gets off tackles, and he is a great athlete. So the Jets here are actually going to be trading away this pick for Houston's pick at 28 and 38. They've shown that they're willing to trade away, and this board has fallen to where I don't think the Jets would be willing to take a guy here and reach potentially, whereas Houston is going to be trading up for Jeremiah Love. Houston's offense loves to run the ball, and Jeremiah Love could be potentially amazing for that. Houston has shown that they will trade up for guys that they think are elite, specifically what they did with Will Anderson after drafting CJ Stroud. So, yes, Jeremiah Love will be going to the Texans, who traded up with the Jets to pick 16. Detroit, here at number 17, I believe they will go a versatile offensive lineman like Caden Proctor. Having him and having him be able to potentially fill in for Decker when he retires at tackle or slide in to help in that interior offensive line, I believe that Caden Proctor has the versatility and the size to do well as a NFL tackle or guard. And that versatility is something that the Lions are definitely looking for. Minnesota at 18 is going to probably be looking to take defensive players, specifically interior D-line, cornerback, or safety. I believe that they will look to grab a guy who plays basically just like Harrison Smith in Emmanuel McNeil Warren. Can play ball hawk, but comes downhill and hits people. And that will be a benefit to a defense that is run by Brian Flores. He loves his elite, crazy athlete players that have versatile backgrounds in the sense of what they're able to do. And with his schemes, I think Emmanuel McNeil Warren can fit right in. Carolina here at number 19. It looks like they can go pretty much anything defense or even a wide receiver. Looking how this board has fallen, being able to put a guy like a Peter Woods or a Caden McDonald next to Derek Brown would be awesome. But I think TJ Parker here fits well. They need pure edge rusher talent. A lot of these Clemson defensive players had down years strictly because it seemed like they were just out on the season. Dallas here with their second pick in the first round after taking Jermod McCoy. They took a corner and potentially could use another edge, a linebacker, a running back, and I think that a guy like CJ Allen, Georgia linebacker, a little bit of helmet scouting, but a guy like CJ Allen to help that defense, their offense is great, and they're looking to probably franchise tag George Pickens and probably re sign Javonte Williams, which, with an offense that already performed well, their defense was what was keeping them back. So I wouldn't be surprised if they go two defensive players in this first round. Pittsburgh can use wide receiver. I think they will re sign Aaron Rodgers, maybe a one last hurrah with Mike McCarthy and Aaron together in Pittsburgh. And being able to take a potentially a wide receiver in this position would be great for them. And I think a guy like Casey Concepcion to be able to switch up the role of DK Metcalf, allowing him to be that downfield receiver. Casey Concepcion is great in space, maybe not the elite breakaway speed, but him in open space and route running underneath and middle of the field routes, which Aaron Rodgers can throw great, I believe would be the pick here. Caleb Lomu is here. That's going to be the pick. Lomu has been said to have potential to move inside to guard, which I think is very valuable to the Chargers to have a guy who can play both tackle and guard. He's listed as a tackle here because he played that in college, but I have seen plenty of times tackles that move in to play guard. Caleb Lomu will be here and be able to fill in at tackle if either of those star tackles cannot play right off the bat. If they can, then Lomu just goes into inside. Philadelphia's pick is something that I've been trying to figure out, especially with the way that this board has fallen. I believe they will probably go Keldrick Falk. He has fallen quite far. I think the Eagles were vastly missing guys that could produce pass rush for their defense. And to have their front four kind of lacking, I think that it hurt them a little bit, especially if their offense can figure it out for next season. Here at 24, I think Cleveland goes with a wide receiver, and Denzel Boston will be that pick for me here. I think they will just take their highest rated offensive player at this time, whether that is another O lineman or a wide receiver. In this case, I think Denzel Boston can be that guy. Chicago, here at 25, go with Peter Woods, who has been falling and sliding down this draft board. Not anymore. The Bears go with a defensive lineman they are in need of. They need help on the defensive line, especially in both the run and pass. And I think pairing him next to Gervon Dexter and being able to potentially take an edge rusher later in the draft is going to help the Bears' defensive line, which was their biggest problem this year. Buffalo, they kind of need help everywhere without needing help everywhere, if that makes sense. I think that they will be going with a corner, especially if one of those top three guys falls. But here, a Brandon Cisse out of South Carolina would fit, I think, pretty well in a Buffalo defense that is looking to get younger after drafting Maxwell Harrison and him not really working out this year of him being injured. I think they might look to potentially continue to buff up that aging defensive back core. San Fran here at 27. Defense was extremely injured this year. I think that they will actually look to stay away from defense in their first round pick with guys coming back like Fred Warner and Nick Bosa. I actually think they will look to go offense. With how their wide receiver room looks currently, it is rough, especially having a guy like Brandon Ayuk never wanting to play there again, and George Kittle, probably not playing at all next year. I think Ricky Pearsall playing on the interior is great for them as a slot guy, and having a big wide receiver, a big bodied wide receiver like Chris Brazzell the second with elite speed and being able to move how he does at such a big size. I'm pretty sure he's like 6'4", is something that I think Shanahan will be looking to utilize. Here at 28, after the Jets traded with the Houston Texans, we'll be looking to potentially go another defensive player. Glenn is a defensive coach, and what do they need? They need defense. Their offense is bad, but it's probably going to be bad without a quarterback. And so I think they double down on taking defense. Taking defensive players for them, they took Azariah Thomas last year, and he was great. I think they go another cornerback like Colton Hood. Having two Tennessee guys coming off back to back is kind of funny to me. I don't know why, because neither of them are really picked to go in the first round. But I think Colton Hood is a good corner and will be exceptional in the Jets defense. That if they go to how Aaron Glenn has shown as a defensive coordinator, he can have them play, I think will be a good fit. Seeing another cornerback go off of the board for the Rams, I could see them trading out of this pick with a team who's drafting early in the second round. Here with Atlanta, their defense again was rough this year, and I think that with a lot of these interior defensive lines still being on the board, they're going to trade up with the Rams. They've shown they've done it before. I wouldn't be surprised if they do it again. Their GM seems like he likes to trade up and take players and get that fifth year option on their deal. And I could see them taking a run defender like Caden McDonald to plug up that middle after taking James Pierce Jr. and Jalen Walker, who James Pierce Jr. may never play football again, but I'm not here to comment on that. I'm here to comment on this offseason. Denver, here at number 30, are going to be taking a quarterback because Bo Nix sucks. No, I'm just kidding. Denver, here at number 30, is probably going to be going with a linebacker or a D line of some sort. Just kidding. They're going to be going Kenyon Sadiq. With an aging Evan Ingram at tight end and how much Sean Payton likes to use the tight end position, I can see Kenyon Sadiq sliding in right there, right away, and being a Bo Nix best friend. Could they use wide receiver? Probably. Could they use a backup corner to potentially replace Riley Mouse? Yes. But I think that they see their defense and wide receiver core as a good thing. And knowing just how much Sean Payton has utilized tight ends in the past, I think Kenyon Sadiq is a great fit. Here at number 31, New England is probably going to go with a defensive player, seeing that there's no wide receivers really high up on their boards that aren't just other versions of wide receivers that they have. I actually think they will sign a wide receiver in free agency or trade for one. But here, I believe that they will go with a guy like Cassius Howell to make their defense even better. Cassius Howell is a great edge rusher and had elite numbers, even better than the numbers of the edges that came out of A&M last year, who were supposed to be crazy and got drafted crazy high, like Shamar Turner and Shamar Stewart. So Cassius Howell going here after being better than them at round 31, I think is a good pick for the New England Patriots. Call me crazy, but I think the Jets could trade into a first round draft pick to take a quarterback at the end of the draft. Taking a quarterback and getting a fifth year deal on a quarterback makes sense for a quarterback needy team. And if they have so many picks over the next 3 years, that taking a quarterback and getting that fifth year option on a guy may not be a bad idea. Here's how the final draft looks. I had a few trades in here because I thought that would bring a little bit more life to it. I actually think there will be a few more offensive linemen that get drafted in this first round draft, just because offensive linemen, always great to have them on that fifth year contract before you have to potentially pay guys. And drafting for that makes sense, as teams always need offensive linemen, regardless if their O line's good or not, you can always have injuries come, and it just makes sense to be able to utilize a first round pick that gives you a fifth year option on offensive linemen. But that's just the opinion of a ball knower. See you later.